Picture someone sitting at their desk, scrolling through retirement planning websites, and suddenly they freeze. The numbers staring back don't add up. Not even close. And here's the thing that should concern everyone. They're not alone. Not by a long shot. You know what the typical American retires with? Take a guess. Go ahead. I'll wait. $1 million? $500,000? Maybe $250,000 if times have been tough? Try this on for size. The median retirement savings for households aged 65 to 74 is about $200,000. That's right, $200,000. And before you think that's not too shabby, let me paint you a picture of what that actually means. With $200,000 in retirement savings, using the standard 4% withdrawal rule that financial planners love to throw around, you're looking at $8,000 per year. Per year. That's about $667 per month. Now add in the average Social Security benefit of roughly $1,976 per month, and you're sitting at around $2,643 monthly to live on. In a country where the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment hovers around $1,500 in most cities, where healthcare costs can devour thousands of dollars annually, where inflation has turned grocery shopping into an Olympic budgeting event, that's the reality. And we're just getting started. If understanding what retirement actually looks like for most people matters to you, subscribe, because what comes next is going to challenge everything you've been told about retirement planning. Here's where it gets really interesting, and by interesting, I mean revealing. That $200,000 median, it means half of all households approaching retirement have less than that. Some have $150,000, others have $75,000, and a shocking number, about 1 in 5 Americans over 50 have exactly zero saved for retirement, not a penny. They're planning to ride into their golden years on Social Security alone, which was never designed to be anyone's sole source of retirement income. It was designed to supplement other savings, not replace them. The typical person retires with far less than financial experts recommend. And the gap between what people think they need and what they actually have. It's not a gap. It's a canyon. It's the Grand Canyon wearing stilts and waving its arms saying, "Look how massive I am." Americans believe they need about $1,026 million to retire comfortably, according to recent surveys. That number dropped from $1,046 million the year before, which tells you something about how people are adjusting their expectations downward, recalibrating their dreams to match their harsh financial reality. But even at $126 million, most people aren't even playing in the same ballpark. They're not in the stadium. They're not even in the same city as the stadium. The average retirement savings across all age groups sits at around $333,000. But averages lie. They're liars dressed in mathematical clothing, looking all official and trustworthy. Averages get skewed by the ultra-wealthy. The folks with $5 million or $10 million socked away, pulling that number up and making everyone else's situation look rosier than it actually is. The median tells the real story. The median is the middle ground, the typical experience. The point where half of people fall below and half rise above. And that median for people in their 60s, folks who should be approaching retirement with confidence, about $539,000. That sounds better than $200,000, sure, but when you need over $1 million to maintain anything close to your pre-retirement lifestyle, when healthcare costs alone can run $12,000 per year or more for a retired couple, when you're looking at potentially 30 years of retirement because people are living longer than ever, that $539,000 starts looking awfully thin. Let's break this down by age, because the picture gets even more interesting when you zoom in. People in their 20s have a median retirement savings of about $36,000. Not terrible considering they're just starting out. But people in their 30s, the median is around $91,000. That's supposed to be the decade where saving accelerates, where you're established in your career, where compound interest starts working its magic. But most people in their 30s haven't even crossed the six-figure mark. By your 40s, the median climbs to roughly $213,000. This is where financial advisors start getting nervous, where the math of retirement planning starts revealing some uncomfortable truths. If you're 45 with $213,000 saved and you need over $1 million by 67, you're not just behind. You're in a position where catching up requires either dramatically increased savings rates, extended working years, or a fundamental rethinking of what retirement will look like. Your 50s show a median of about $441,000, getting closer to that million mark, but still less than halfway there with only 10 to 15 years left to save. And remember, these are medians. For every person with $441,000, there's someone with $200,000, or $100,000, or nothing at all. Here's what really gets concerning. About 36% of non-retirees have no retirement savings whatsoever. None. Zero. Zilch. They're skating through life without any financial cushion for their later years, living entirely in the present tense because the future seems too expensive to afford. Some don't have access to employer retirement plans. Others have access but don't participate, whether because they can't afford to or because retirement seems too distant to worry about. And a troubling number simply don't understand how retirement savings work, how compound interest functions, how time is the most valuable asset they'll ever have when it comes to building wealth. The reasons behind this retirement savings crisis form a web of interconnected problems. First, there's the basic math of American life. Wages haven't kept pace with the cost of living. The median household income has remained relatively stagnant for decades when adjusted for inflation, while housing costs, education expenses, healthcare bills, and everyday necessities have climbed steadily upward. People are getting squeezed from every direction, and retirement savings often becomes the thing that gets sacrificed when the budget won't stretch far enough. Then there's the shift from pensions to 401k plans. A generation ago, many workers could count on defined benefit pensions that would provide steady income throughout retirement. The company or government bore the investment risk and guaranteed the outcome, but that world has largely disappeared, replaced by 401k plans that shift all the risk onto individual workers. You have to choose to participate, decide how much to contribute, select your investments, and hope the market cooperates. It's a system that rewards financial literacy and consistent saving, but punishes those who don't have the knowledge, discipline, or frankly, the spare money to participate fully. Student loan debt plays a role too. Younger generations are carrying unprecedented amounts of education debt, often delaying major life milestones like buying homes or having children. When you're sending $500 or $1,000 per month to student loan servicers, finding money to contribute to a retirement account becomes nearly impossible. You're paying for your past while trying to survive your present, and the future gets pushed further down the priority list. Healthcare costs deserve their own mention. Medical expenses are one of the biggest wildcards in retirement planning. Medicare doesn't cover everything. Premiums, deductibles, prescriptions, dental, vision, hearing aids, long-term care, none of these are free. The average 65-year-old couple will spend over $300,000 on healthcare throughout retirement. That's not a worst-case scenario. That's average. If you retire at 65 with $200,000 saved, and healthcare alone will cost $300,000, the math doesn't math. Something has to give. Either you work longer, spend less, rely on family, or hope nothing expensive goes wrong. And then there's the psychological dimension. Retirement feels abstract when you're 25 or 35 or even 45. It's this distant concept, this faraway country you'll visit someday. But it doesn't seem real enough to warrant sacrifice today. Humans are notoriously bad at making decisions that prioritize their future selves over their current selves. We're wired to focus on immediate needs and desires, not abstract scenarios decades away. The 25-year-old you wants to travel, buy things, enjoy life now. The 65-year-old you needs a functioning retirement account, but the 25-year-old is making the decisions, and they don't feel the urgency that the 65-year-old will feel when it's too late to fix it. This isn't about being irresponsible. It's about being human. Our brains didn't evolve to plan for retirements that last 30 years. They evolved to survive immediate threats and enjoy immediate rewards. Financial systems that expect people to voluntarily sacrifice present consumption for abstract future benefits are fighting against millions of years of evolutionary wiring, and evolution is winning. Add to that the complexity of modern financial products. Most people don't understand the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. They don't know what an expense ratio is. They don't know if they should be in stocks or bonds or some mix. They don't know if their 401k allocations make sense, so they do nothing, because doing nothing feels safer than doing something wrong. Paralysis masquerading as prudence. The result? The typical person reaches retirement with a fraction of what they need, and they adjust. They have to. So what does all this mean for you? It means that if you're sitting on retirement savings that look embarrassingly small, you're in good company. The majority of Americans are in the same boat, paddling frantically toward a shoreline that seems to keep receding. But it also means there's urgency here, real urgency. Because that typical person retiring with $200,000 in median savings, they're facing some hard choices. Working longer than they wanted, cutting back on expenses more than they'd hoped, maybe moving to a lower cost of living area, maybe relying on family more than they'd prefer, maybe accepting that retirement will look different than they imagined. The typical person retires with far less than they need, and that's not a judgment. It's an observation about a broken system, about an economy that's made saving for the future increasingly difficult for the average worker. But observation doesn't fix the problem. Action does. Start where you are, even if where you are feels impossibly far from where you need to be. Increase your savings rate by even 1%. Take advantage of employer matches if you have access. That's free money. Leaving it on the table is like declining a raise. Automate your retirement contributions so the money disappears before you can spend it. You can't miss what you never see. If you're in your 20s or 30s, you have the single most valuable asset: time. Use it. Even small contributions compound into significant sums over decades. $200 a month from age 25 to 65 at 7% returns becomes over $500,000. That's not guessing, that's math. If you're in your 40s or 50s and behind, you still have options. Catch-up contributions exist for a reason. Working a few extra years dramatically changes the equation. Downsizing or relocating can free up capital. It's not too late, but it is urgent. If you're already retired or near retirement with less than you need, focus on what you can control. Expenses, location, healthcare strategies, part-time income, Social Security timing. These levers still move the needle. And if you're one of the 36% with zero saved, start today. Not next month, not next year. Today. Even $50 a month is infinitely better than zero. Momentum matters. Direction matters. Perfect doesn't exist. Here's the final thought. Knowing these numbers isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to inform you, to show you that you're not uniquely failing if your retirement account looks smaller than you'd like. Most people are struggling with this, but most people doesn't have to include you. You can be the statistical outlier, the person who breaks from the pack and builds something different, not because you're smarter or luckier, but because you started, and you stayed. The typical person retires with $200,000 and faces hard choices. You don't have to be typical. You don't need to be a millionaire to retire comfortably, but you do need more than the median. And getting more than the median requires doing more than the median. That doesn't mean working 3 jobs. It means being intentional, consistent, patient. It means understanding that retirement isn't something that happens to you. It's something you build, year by year, contribution by contribution, decision by decision. The system is broken in many ways, but you're not powerless within it. You have agency, you have choices, you have time if you use it, so use it. If this video opened your eyes to the retirement reality most people face, subscribe for more honest conversations about money. We talk about the psychology of wealth, about how money actually works versus how we wish it worked, about building a financial life that serves you instead of trapping you. Drop a comment if you're rethinking your retirement strategy. Let's talk about it, because your future self is counting on the decisions you make today. And that's not pressure, that's opportunity.